Good afternoon, and we shall be discussing today on documentary film. Documentary film is also a kind of a film genre, and this is a very popular one. Now, if we search on our TV, if we search on our different platform, uh, so we can find that documentary film has a kind of a popularity, and uh, uh, numerous documentary films are uploaded over there, and those are screened and those are available, and huge viewers number of viewers are also there who watch documentary films on regular basis, and it's a popular genre, no doubt. So today's topic will be uh, more or less, it's all about documentary films and its different sections and the origin primarily. Now when we are talking about documentary film, so it is basically a kind of a film that is non-fictional in nature. The so-called popular films, feature films, documentary film is not a kind of a feature film in that sense. Rather, it's a non-fictional film, and it is very uh, specific in its location, since documentary film discusses primarily, it gives importance to on a particular object, particular subject, particular area, and the filmmaker is very focused, going deeper to that particular area or genre or that specific topic, in which he continuously discusses more and more and records, documents, data, often directly on that particular area and the location. And often he is found to make interviews, commentaries, and opinions and observations from the people who are somehow connected to that particular subject and topic, and then ultimately makes a documentary film. Now, recently I visited the official website of Harappa.com, since Harappa has been a kind of an obsession for me. And we know that Mohenjo-daro is a kind of a film made by Ashutosh Gwarikar recently. Ashutosh Gwarikar, one of the very popular filmmakers in India, and he has made so many, not blockbuster in that sense, but of course, some of the films which are very thought-provoking, that deals about some of the social and the cultural issues. So I liked Mohenjo-daro when it was made and when it was starred by Hrithik Roshan. But somehow a few areas in the film are there which are a bit dicey, which are actually not very convincing. Rather, it seemed on the part of the audience that the director has tried to jotting down the issues together. He has no doubt done some research works on that particular area called Mohenjo-daro. That presentation of the Great Bath is, of course, there. But somehow, at the end of the film, the kind of expectations we had a filmmaker like Ashutosh Gwarikar, it was not fully satisfied. When it comes to the conclusion of the film, when it comes to the end of the film, we found that it is more, entertaining than less a kind of an impression that can give you mm, can reach you up to that very expectation that you had. Now, I visited Harappa.com, is a dedicated website for that ancient exact location of that Harappa city that is now in Pakistan, and anyone can visit from home virtually, and there are so many short videos, the exact location of Harappa and that ancient city, and the kind of excavation process which are taking place even today, or the kind of excavation that held earlier, the ruins, the present conditions, such and such. Now, my recent visit to Harappa.com helped me to find out one documentary film that I didn't see earlier, and that documentary film, the language is English, so it's very helpful for everyone, and globally it can be accessed. And that documentary film on that Harappa and the present status, and that changes the kind of often voluntary services given to that particular place by some enthusiasts who love Harappa city so much, and how this documentary talks a lot about that this Harappa is now in Pakistan, but actually the beginning held when it was very much connected to India, and the kind of Indian persons who were very much connected to for that excavation process, and those are coming up. So, what ultimately I got out of that documentary on Harappa, a Pakistan based filmmaker, that was really full of information that can give you a kind of a thrilling sensation. So, I think that should be the USP of a documentary film, that can give you a kind of a thrilling sensation, that can give you a test. It's very sure that it is not very possible to us immediately to go and visit Harappa, that ancient and the ruined city over there in Pakistan. But that sensation, I strongly recommend every one of you to just to have a kind of a look, go and visit and watch the documentary film over there in that official website of the Harappa.com. And it can immediately make you feel that, yes, you are back to that ancient city. And some of those people who are very enthusiastic even today, and they take very good care of the place. And in that documentary film, it is very surprising that one of the natives of that locality, who actually was also, you know, uh, in good terms connected to the place and had much knowledge. This man, as he is presented in the documentary, a bit a rebellious kind of a personality, who also for his higher studies came in Shantiniketan and was in a very good contact with Rabindranath Tagore. And this documentary is so interesting that it immediately connected to Harappa, that ancient city, and the man of Pakistan, and then who came to Shantiniketan, Tagore. Tagore knew it very well. The man is also very close to the Harappa city, the ancient ruins. So everything is so beautifully blended. We immediately get very attached to the film, get attached to that particular subject, the topic that is narrated over there. In a documentary film, the most important thing that has to be kept in mind is authenticity. Filmmaker must be authentic, genuine. He will never be partial. Just like a detective, he will explore, she will explore every nook and corner of the particular subject on which he or she is making the documentary film. So, documentary film is a kind of a responsibility on the part of the filmmaker to share some of the authentic and the genuine message to the audience globally. Since a film cannot be confined in a particular country, every film is a global product. You know, a film can reach everywhere. So one can immediately get attached to it. That aroma of ancient Harappa civilization, that is very much there. I think that should be the quality of a good documentary film. And the art of questioning, documentary filmmaker must be a man of vast reading. He must do some research work uh, before going to visit a place like that, or making a film on any particular topic. So he must be knowing all about that. Background studies is very much necessary, and so it is in the case of the documentary film that I was talking about. And he knew it well, and he was actually obsessed in uh, doing work on that particular area for long. So that is reflected very much in that documentary. So I will be back to my theoretical aspects here. So documentary film is a kind of a non-fictional in nature that I was talking about. It is more about reality, and the basic purpose of documentary films is uh, conveying a message, instruct information, and that instruction, that information, that message must be very authentic. It must be very genuine. And I personally watch BBC documentaries, and those documentaries can give you the very same kind of a sense, the kind of uh, 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 dedication on the part of the filmmaker, that the way they wants to they want to cover every aspects, people who are connected to the place, people who are connected to the particular subject. So this is what they do, and they do it so being so much obsessed, authentic, and being to that very part in such a manner that it makes the whole documentary film, it's a piece of gem. It becomes a piece of gem because future researchers, future workers, they can watch the film, they can watch the documentary, and it can give them the kind of an inspiration or so many hidden information, and that will help them out to meet future programs. So, from that very angle, documentary films are the necessity of our time. I would like to refer the name of Bill Nichols. Now, Bill Nichols, film critic and thinker, and Bill Nichols has some observations on the documentary films, who talks a lot about the trajectory that should be the aspects in case of the documentary films, that uh, he thinks that filmmaking is a kind of a practice. Now, when we are talking about documentary films, it's all about the processes, because a director has to keep in mind that for whom he is making the documentary film. And so he must be very objective, he must be very rational, and he must be very specific in the choice of the area selection, topic, picturesqueness, information, because it is beyond boundary. He is actually crossing the limit. So from that very angle, a documentary film is a kind of a film that has a long term effect. So-called popular films has a very short time lifespan, but in case of a documentary film, its longevity is enormous, and it will be there for a long time. So naturally, there lies the responsibility. So if you go back to that very early stage of the documentary film, we find a different sort of film which can be considered as the predecessors of the documentary film. And that kind of film that I would like to name right at this moment is called actuality film. Now, actuality film and the documentary films are not in total same, but actuality films are a bit predecessors of documentary films, because uh, in case of the documentary films, the duration is, of course, often half an hour, 20 minutes, or 1 hour, 2 hours. So it's now quite lengthy in size. But actuality films were basically 1 minute long, less than 1 minute, 50 seconds, 60 seconds. And it is interesting that the first actuality films were actually made by Lumiere brothers. Okay, since Lumiere's brothers, the camera that had the capacity probably of 50 seconds to document, record earlier. So the actuality films had a very short time span, at least 1 minute or less than 1 minute. So we know that gradually actuality films were developed, and the kind of modern version that we get today, that we call documentary films, are the later date development of the activity films, and these are it has a more developed form. The aspect is newer, fresh, and documentaries are of different taste. Anyone can make documentaries on any subject. It may be on dress, it may be on culture, it may be on a particular personality, it may be on a space, a particular place, wildlife, sports, food, on any topic. Documentary films can be made now. Activity films were very a short time span, and it was not so, in that sense, convincing. In that, you know, uh, the director, they wanted to capture some of the moments on a particular issue, and naturally the area was very limited. The area was not much broad in that sense. So in that angle, um, it has less capacity to reach, to capture the mind of the audience on the part of activity films. But now when we have documentary films, it has broader space, and documentary films can capture more and more the mind of the audience, and it helps out to go deeper to the particular subject. And now when science is so developed, so documentary films has a vast arena in which consultation with scientific conditions and references are very much there. For example, one documentary, I forget right at this moment who actually made the film, but I found that it was probably in some Amazon forest or somewhere, or some Machu Picchu probably. And when such kind of documentaries are made, they are taking the video from often by helicopter, or by, in our time, by drone. So the kind of view the audience can see nowadays, such kind of modern devices are making the documentary films more interesting that early documentaries never had at all. So this development, this scientific development, this new devices, making the documentaries more and more interesting, more and more thought provoking, and more captivating in that sense. But in most cases, documentaries are basically educational in nature, and they help us out to know on a particular thing, because without that documentary probably we had no scope at all to be of that particular part. But documentary can help us out to go and to have access in detail, otherwise it was not probably possible in that way. So it is quite interesting to note that the first word documentary was actually coined by a Scottish documentary filmmaker. It was John Grierson. Now, John Grierson, as it is assumed, is the man for the first time who used the word documentary, while he was making a review for the film Moana in 1926. And Moana was a film by Robert Flaherty. Now, Robert Flaherty's film Moana, and then later came so many other documentaries as well. So, documentary is now a very promising area. New filmmakers, they also make films on that particular genre called documentary films. So, one book that I found very interesting, and there some basic facts are also written over there. And this one is documentary film, a very short introduction by Patricia Auf der Heide. Now, Patricia Auf der Heide's this very short and tiny book on documentary film, it deals with some of the very basic aspects of the documentary film, because it talks about that documentary film is actually a product of the late 19th century. Okay, and this late 19th century film genre is now very popular, and new kind of films are being made, and film directors are there who always think of what a new kind of approach can be made. For example, Nanook of the North is a a film made in 1922. It talks about the exotic lands and the lifestyles, and also a very new kind of approach can be found in the film Rain that came in 1929. It talks about a rainy day, and also the kind in the background some classical music and connection between music and the rain. A documentary film by Joris Ivan. The name of the film is Rain. So what exactly is documentary? As Patricia is trying to define what exactly a documentary film is, a very clear cut and a very definite answer might be a documentary is a kind of a piece that is not a movie at all. A movie is a movie and a documentary is a documentary. We shouldn't call a documentary a movie because numerous movies are there and those are blockbuster movies and having their own special kind of features. But in the case of the documentary, it is a different genre. And another very funny definition that Patricia is also providing us for what could be in another way a documentary film. So Patricia is saying that a movie that is not fun, documentary film is not fun. It is not, it should not be considered that it is full of entertainment at all. No, documentary film is not all about entertainment. Okay, it is a serious kind of a movie, and in which we try to reach something, we try to achieve something, we want to uphold something for a greater truth, for a broader notion, and that can help everyone perfectly, that can help everyone to move beyond our limited knowledge on particular area. So that much I had to tell today regarding documentary film. So we must continue our discussion on documentary films in our forthcoming classes. Thank you.